I've got Mickey here with me today, and we're going to introduce heeling with a sit at your side. There are a few things you want to think about before you begin working on this. One is, do you have a little bit of distance built up on your heel? So I would recommend a minimum of 5 steps, heeling with good focus, good position, on a loose leash without having to have food in your hand for 5 steps before you add heeling and sit at your side. And then you also want to make sure that your dog is used to sitting at your side. If you're so far only working sit in front, take a few training sessions, establish from a stationary position that your dog can sit at your side so that when you go to add it with movement, it'll make a lot more sense to your dog. Then the other thing we want to keep in mind is our helping techniques. So we've got our handler position, we've got a food lure, we've got a guide, and we've got leash pressure. So basically, think about handler position. Do we have this sit at our side established from a stationary position? Okay, so make sure you've got that established, and then you can think about using a food lure, a guide, or leash pressure to help your dog sit when you come to a stop out of this heel. One other thing you need to think about is, do you want to verbally prompt sit, or do you want your dog to just sit on their own without you having to say sit when you come to a stop? So one of the things that you want to be aware of is, does your dog understand what kind of help you're going to give for sit? So if your dog understands leash pressure really well, you don't have to actually verbally cue sit, you can just apply your leash pressure. Same thing with that guide. If your dog understands the guide, then you can just apply the guide as opposed to verbally prompting sit. So I'm going to try to demonstrate several different variations along with the helping techniques here, so you can pick which one's going to work best for you and your dog, and then start following through with that one. And the last thing you want to keep in mind is your sequence of command, mark, release, reinforce. All right, I'm going to release Mickey, and we'll start from the top and show all the different helping techniques. Free. Okay, the first thing is, just like with our regular heel, make sure you start in good position. So we're going to get at her side, get her on a sit. We'll mark that good. And this one, I'm going to do a food lure to start with. So when I do this food lure, I'm actually going to have the food in my right hand since Mickey heels on my left. And as I'm coming to a stop, I'm transferring the food to my left hand so that it can then come straight up above Mickey's head. Heel. Sit. Good. Free. And I'm also going to show that from a different angle. Sit. Good girl. So I've got the food in my right hand to start with. We'll let Rodco get out of the way there. Come here, guy. Okay, got the food in my right hand to start with. Heel. Sit. Good. Free. Okay, so that's our food lure. I would really recommend maybe saving that one for last. Try the leash pressure or even the guide, because we've spent so much time trying to get our dogs to heel without the food that we don't really want to add it in here with this sit if we don't have to. But if you are struggling trying to get your dog on a sit and nothing else is working, that's always going to be an option for you. So this time we're going to try the guide. Come here, Mickey. Sit. Good girl. Heel. Good. Free. Now that time I didn't verbally prompt the sit, so I'll show what that looks like with the actual sit cue. All right, Rodco's out of the way. Here we go. Heel. Sit. Good. Free. And now with that verbal prompt of sit, she actually beat me to it. Come on, Rodco. So on that guide, what you want to think about doing if you heel with the leash in your dog's side hand is, come here, Nick, is as you come to a stop, you're actually transferring the leash to your right hand, and that allows your left hand to come down and push. So let me show that coming right at you. Come on, Mickey. Sit. Good girl. Heel. Sit. sit, good, free. So make sure you're pushing with an open hand, so your leash isn't actually in your hand, and it's your dog side hand that you're going to do that guide with. Okay, let's look at our leash pressure now, and I'll show it without the verbal cue to sit, and then I'll show one with the verbal cue to sit. We'll start from this angle. So what we'll start with is without the verbal cue. Heel. Good. Free. So notice it's just straight up and down. It's just like we talked about in our sit helping techniques and sequence video. Okay, now we'll do one coming right at you. Come on. Sit. Good girl. Heel. Good. Free. Right now, with the verbal cue, good. Heel. Sit. Good. Good boy. Come here, Rod. Okay, so Rodco threw my timing off with Mick. Free. Still going to release her, but let's try that again. Sit. Good. Heel. Sit. Good. Free. Okay, so you want to try to go straight up and down with your leash as much as possible. Don't pull back. A lot of people will naturally want to pull back, and you want to go straight up and down because you'll get a better placement that way. And let's try one more from the side angle here. Good. Heel. Sit. Good. Free. So those are a few different ways you can get started on your heel with your sit at your side. Make sure you have whatever helping technique you're going to use established from a stationary position, and make sure you've got some distance built up on your heel. Again, you're looking for a minimum of 5 steps. Now, just for demonstration purposes here for the camera, you probably saw me only go about 3 or 4. That's just a demo for you guys. When you're working on this at home, have at least 5 steps built up, and then mix up the number of steps you're taking when you stop. If you always do 5 and then stop and sit, your dog's going to start automatically doing that, and when you go out for an exercise walk, they're stopping and sitting every 5th step when you want them to keep going. So make sure you mix up that number of steps you're taking before you have them sit. Make sure you use your sequence with your markers, your release, your reinforcement. Don't go so far that your dog makes a mistake. But if you do, make sure you tell them no, and you're going to restart this exercise. All right, hopefully that'll help you get started. As always, we appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you next time.